There's a great image which I find very useful, that when you have a flashlight and you focus the light on this and that, things come in to draw your attention, and we build a world out of what the light shines on. But the problem is, the light can't shine on itself, so the very thing that is looking never gets noticed. How do you look at the looker? How do you see yourself seeing? How do you get to the I as opposed to the me?
Anything that is constant, we tune out. Our brain is constantly scanning for new data, and anything that is constant is considered a non-factor and thus not taken into your perception. You don't feel the clothes on your body because you're used to it. You don't notice your breathing because it's always happening. Anywhere you go, your ears are picking up ambience, but you don't consciously register it. The weight of your body is constant and very difficult to feel. The sun, moon, and the stars are no new sight, and so it is rare for you to truly notice them and take them in. In Western society, our consciousness has been sort of condensed and turned into this eternal spotlight mode. We make no distinction between ourselves and what our mind wanders to. This condition exacerbates things like depression. Your thinking mind makes a habit of negative commentary, and when your sense of self resides in that space, your entire world takes on that form of negative commentary. No matter how good your air conditioning is, you never appreciate it. Not only because it is tuned out due to being constant, but also because your mind has been hijacked by negative thinking patterns. These negative thinking patterns spiral into emotions and then further snowballs into bad decisions. If you live long enough this way, the video games aren't as fun anymore. Hanging out with your friends is less exciting. Every day starts with dread. Anxiety strikes you in the middle of the night. Even the drugs don't seem to do anything anymore. This is because we've lost our passion for existence. We stop appreciating the little things because we can't see them. All we can do is drown out our senses and distract our mind from this constant psychic headache. But what we don't get is that the world isn't dark and dreary and hopeless. It's our perception of it that is. This is because we're desensitized to it. This has to do with the overstimulation from the internet. We just see so much. It's hard to appreciate the suburban neighborhood you live in when you've seen these grand beauties and these massive houses and these wonderful landscapes on Instagram. You always think, man, I want to move there. The suburbs are lame, which I'm not arguing. It's hard to appreciate where you are in life when your feed is filled with these people much more successful than you. This is subconsciously influencing you to devalue your own life through the viewing of others. Another reason we've lost our passion for life is we've labeled it and we think we understand it. I have a quote from The Myth of Sisyphus that encapsulates this idea. The wondrous and multicolored universe can be reduced to the atom, and the atom itself can be reduced to the electron. All this is good, and I wait for you to continue. But you tell me of an invisible planetary system in which electrons gravitate around a nucleus. You explain this world to me with an image. I realize then that you have been reduced to poetry. I shall never know. Have I then time to become indignant? You have already changed theories. The soft lines of these hills and the hand of evening on this troubled heart teach me much more. I have returned to my beginning. I realize that if through science I can seize phenomena and enumerate them, I cannot for all that apprehend the world. So what he's essentially saying is that science doesn't actually explain anything. I remember when I was a kid, I thought we knew everything. I would always look up things about space and physics and things like that until you hit a wall at a certain point. You're like, the world is made of molecules, and molecules are made of atoms, and atoms are made of quarks, and you're like, so what are quarks? And then you get to a point they're like, we don't know. Here's another example. We can look at the stars and think, oh, those are balls of plasma and gas. Then you ask yourself, well, how did that gas and plasma come together? And you say, oh, gravity. But then you ask yourself, what's gravity? And we've hit a wall. And so we try to explain nature away through these words and labels, but they're just words, and they don't actually encapsulate the phenomena of reality itself. It is impossible. All we can do is observe it and measure it, but we cannot understand it to the fullest extent. And so we often become uninfatuated with nature because we quote-unquote understand it. We understand how it works. We observe it. We have theories. We have hypotheses. We have the theory of evolution. We've replaced myths with more sophisticated myths, essentially. It used to be Zeus that made the lightning strike, but now we know it's the friction between the clouds, and somehow that makes it less interesting or magical. This shift makes the world seem mechanical and pointless a little. You can see yourself as an accumulation of organic molecules or as a human being. Both are true, but which one inspires you and makes you feel whole and makes you feel like you want to live life? Imagine the humans thousands of years ago who looked up to the night sky in complete awe of what they were seeing, but we look up and we think nothing of it. Intellectual comprehension has taken our childlike wonder of the universe that gave it so much meaning and vibrance to our reality. So what's the solution to this? We need to break out of this mental conditioning and learn to be present. Presence is all about not being involved with the mind as it spins. The mind is constantly looking to be doing something or to comment or judge something. The point of presence is to simply sit with existence without trying to make sense of it or scheming to manipulate it. I want you to sit and wait for your next thought to come. That is presence. This empty space which you simply observe. And from that headspace, we can start to appreciate life and the privilege it is to have one. All those things that were constants earlier, we need to bring them to the front of our awareness. This helps us develop that empty space for us to go to when depression arises or anxiety arises or negative emotions take over. And it's impossible to do that without creating this distinction between yourself and what you're feeling. So essentially, your world is created by what you give emphasis to and what your awareness is drawn to. As we practice presence, we're going to be able to direct our awareness to things that we love and to things that inspire us. That's going to refuel our love for life. So I've just laid out all the theory for you. That's all mind stuff theory. Here's what you actually need to do. Theory without action is masturbation, and action without theory has no intention behind it. 3 primary ideas. You need to romanticize your life, develop the empty space we were talking about, and take care of yourself. By romanticize your life, I mean pretend you're the main character. Don't pretend, you are the main character, okay? Take a long hot shower and blast some music. Fill your room with things that inspire you. Take yourself out on a date. By taking care of yourself, you need to institute some form of routine. Routine sounds like a bad word, but you need stability for your mind. Now, I did say presence can override the mind, but it's going to be much easier if it's already in a stable place. So exercise, sleeping and eating right, and I don't think I'm gonna go too much into that because there's plenty of other better people to hear from for that kind of stuff. I would highly suggest you create a sort of ritual every time you wake up and every time you go to bed. When you wake up, stretch, drink some water, don't mindlessly grab your phone. When you go to bed, also don't mindlessly grab your phone. That's gonna be the biggest thing here, is removing the primary source of desensitization, which is your phone. The reason to develop that empty space is so we can make more conscious decisions and less unconscious actions. As you make more conscious decisions, the world is going to come alive because you're actively involved in it. You're going to be able to notice the flowers and the sun. It's going to come naturally as you raise that emptiness inside you and you take away all of that spotlight consciousness that you've developed. In this way, we can stop living in our mind where things are volatile and gray, and we move our sense of self to a space that is stable, empty, and accepting.